Welcome class back to Biology 101 with the American BiGuy, a channel on BiTV brought to you by us. We're here every Friday night laying the foundations of bisexuality and curiously poking around with some of the questions you submitted on askabiguy.com and askatomboy.com. Now, I am your host, the American BiGuy, your friendly American bystander for the bi community. And I send a very warm welcome to all of you bisexual teammates out there on the bi team, whether you are sitting on the sidelines or out there playing the field as players, baby. I'll also welcome all you straight folks in the audience, side kicking it with us, and all of the gay community who are out there living their best lives as the world's ideal mascot. Now, before I begin each lesson, I always take a moment to play on the field of reflection, where we sit back and take a minute to appreciate how wonderful you are, how beautiful you are, and how awesome this world is with you flourishing in it. Now remember, folks, no matter what team you may rep, remember we are all children of planet Earth and we all enjoy the sport of being who we really are. Now, class in session, and today I want to build on where we left off last time. Last time I talked to you about owning bisexuality, right, and giving you a few tips and pointers on how to do that. What I really want to talk about is first the bi cycle. I posted a video a couple years ago about it, but I kind of want to just recap a little bit about that, and then I kind of want to move into going about bisexuality and what you're going to face, and many of you probably already have faced it as far as the opposition. And then I'll just kind of let the conversation go from there, about my own experience, even like last night, and how when I come across these situations where people try to play with my identity or my sexuality, I take control. So that way I know, what's going on, and I know that they know I'm not to be toyed with. Okay, so the bi cycle, right? Very quickly, the bi cycle is that period where your same-sex attraction is going off. When it goes off, I don't know. Maybe when you eat certain foods, maybe when the moon is full, maybe when you see a certain movie. I don't know, right? It will go off. And I do think that caused a lot of confusion for a lot of people, because people who do have the same sex attraction will, have it, and then maybe they're in a relationship with the opposite, right? Or even married to someone of the opposite sex. And so they're repressing it, or they're trying to figure out what's wrong with me. Am I really, happy in my relationship, in my marriage, or am I hiding who I am? I can't speak on whether you're happy or not, but I can tell you right now that that part of you that is attracted to same sex is just your bicycle, right? And it's up to you, I always say, as the captain of your team. That's why I always use the term teammate, because you are the captain. You determine how you go about, playing. Maybe you are sidelined, right? Maybe you don't, actually sleep around, or maybe you don't exercise that bi side of you for whatever reason, religion, fear, relationship, what have you. Maybe you are a player. Maybe you are here living your best life, right? And there's certainly precautions you need to take with that. But regardless of how you choose to go about it, just understand there's nothing wrong with you. The bi cycle will go off. I do think it causes a lot of confusion for a lot of people sometimes, because they don't know what to do with it. And then they just think, maybe I am bi. And then maybe, they, get their release, however, their same-sex attraction. And then they just think, okay, it's gone, but it will be back. Okay. The problem is for a lot of people is that when they do go out here and they do try to exercise that same-sex attraction, they're going to face a lot of backlash, right? They can make maybe from like their peers, maybe from like the gay community, because I always say everybody's chariot in the LGBTQ whatever it is now, has taken off. Everybody's had their chariot except for the bi team. We have not. And I think we're the largest group. I know we're the largest group, right? Because we're all teammates and we all play different positions and we are very large. But with that being said, I do think that a lot of people are stuck with how to go about it, and they get this backlash. I remember one time, where I was at the bar and this girl came up to me, and she was, I was at a gay bar, and she was like, damn, you're Jack, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, what's up? And then she looked at me and I was like, all right, what's up? She was like, oh, she was honestly kind of like, she was like an Asian girl that was kind of like, kind of tomboyish. And I was like, yeah, I'm bisexual, like, so what's up? And she was like, oh, I don't want that negativity. Like, off the back, even in a gay environment, she's like, I don't want that, get away from it. I'm like, what do you mean you don't want that? I'm like, because she's like, she shared with me she had a bad experience with a girl that is bisexual. And I'm like, I'm sorry about that, but we are not, we are not bad people, it's just a bad situation that you had. Also, a lot of times I think that people will, especially straight people, and this is really where you want to listen. You want to listen right here. What you often get is when you tell people that you're gay or that you're bisexual, and you're telling a straight person specifically, and I'll speak from my perspective as a man, they'll be like, oh, okay, that's cool. And then they'll be like, but I'm straight. But then what they'll do, and this even happened just last night, is that they will try to, almost like, think that they're tantalizing a treat in front of them by them identifying as straight, and then me telling them who I am, they think I want them. So this is always pivotal and always key. You always tell people when you're bisexual whether that person or not makes the team. That's what I always say. Last night I had the same thing happen. Many dudes came up to me, and I was in this Grateful Dead bar having the time of my life. We were just rocking out, having a good time. Men who identify straight came up to me, started talking to me, and really started to, move in. But, I had to tell them several times. Like, one particular guy, he's like, oh, I'm straight. And I'm like, yeah, that's good for you, but you don't make the team. What happened when I said that is that it shut him down. It put him in a place where he knew that I'm not good enough. And then I even went so far as to, tell him, I said, you're not my type. You don't make the team. And he looked at me and he said, what is your type? Well, first of all, why do you want to know that, right? You're a straight dude. He actually is from Virginia, like myself. We had that in common. I was like, really? He's like, yeah, I'm new out here in the Rocky Mountains. And I'm like, okay, what? Welcome? And then he started to, be like, well, what is, ask me that question. And I told him, I said, look, bro. Okay, look, first of all, you're way too masculine for me. Unless you got a serious submissive side, I am not interested. I'm very attracted to femininity. And I was like, or unless you got like a huge, you got a lot of cake back there, you're not making the team for me. And that's okay. And he kind of was like, oh, well, like he was considering, saying like, I have like a lot of cake, or, what I've always been. And I was like, don't do that. I was like, just understand, like, I'll be your boy with you. I will lift weight with you. I will be cool with you, but you don't make the cut for me, right? You're not an ugly person, honestly, but you just don't make the cut. And so I tell you that it's very, very important when you're telling people, if you choose to, that you're bisexual. Let people know when they come at you, because they're going to try to come at you. They're going to try to put you in a place where they're like, hey, look at me, I'm up here, you want me. And you're like, I ain't thinking about you, about a man on the moon, right? You have to let them know when they make the cut. Be very direct. I tell people all the time, obviously I'm bisexual, right? The American bi guy, my life is on display. But I tell people, here's what I like in another man. Okay? XYZ, this, that, and third. Here's what I like in a woman. Simple as that. If you make the cut, I will let you know. Remember, part of our identity is like vampires and werewolves. When the moon is full and we meet someone that we like, we will entertain them and we let them know, okay, you're kind of special. A lot of times you're going to come across these people who just want to be wanted. And then you're in the situation where some people are very vulnerable and they may actually open up and say, and I've had that happen, like, oh, okay, well, I think I might be bisexual too. Or they might express, oh, what is that like, right? Or, they just general curiosity, I always say, because people don't talk about bisexuality very much. We see it in the media with women. We see women, having a good time and kissing a girl and liking it and everything else, but we really don't see it like in a way where it explains it as an identity. We see it with men, right? Men playing gay, like this and the third. That same night, I was talking to one guy. He's a big burly guy, like, he's pretty masculine, very nice guy. And it was something, we made a joke or something like that. And he was in the Navy, and he was like, well, what happens on the ship, I don't talk about. And I'm like, okay, that's classified. He tells me, he was like, anything, I did with other guys on the ship, I don't talk about. And I'm like, what? And later that night, we started talking more, and he started to share with me. He was like, well, I'm straight. And I was like, yeah, but, why are you sharing with me or insinuating, right, that you've done something with another man on a ship? It was laughable at the time. We joked about it, but I could tell at the same time he was trying that thing where he baits you, right? He baits you and makes you. And I'm like, you are not. You're not. You don't make the cut either, right? Good looking guy, just didn't make the cut for me. Like I said, way too masculine. That's my bi formula. Is in fact I like femininity, and when you understand that, and maybe you're somebody who likes both, then you really can kind of lay the foundation and the framework for who's gonna make it and who's not. And that is your right as a bisexual person. And I really think we have to exercise that right. Because when you identify as bisexual, for some reason they look at us like we the freak of the week. Like, straight people can do their thing, gay people can do their thing, right? All sorts of intimacy and sex. But when you say you're bisexual, baby, they look at you like you're the worst thing ever. Which is why I'm here and I work so hard to create grace for our community, to guard us and let people know, like, no, we're like we just got a little bit more variety, with how we go about it. I do think that a lot of times, when you're in the gay community, obviously you don't have a place. Like, I was watching a trailer today for that movie Bros, I think it came out, and there was like a scene in there where this guy was at a table with the LGBTQ community, and he's bisexual. He was like, we get a week, and the lesbians get a month, and they were arguing about like how much time they have in society to really strut their pride. And I think that that's a very good point that we all know is a problem, right? That bi people don't have anything. And the only thing I could attribute to is the fact that maybe because people don't understand it. And I do feel as though there's a lot of things that fall under the umbrella of bisexuality, and people will wholeheartedly move forward and say, I'm this and I'm that and I'm hetero-flexible, and of course they're right, but they skip the overarching B, that letter right there in the middle of LGBTQ acronym. They'll skip it and they'll act like it's the great unwashed. And I think that it's time where we really acknowledge that we are the largest group, because it looks different, and at the end of the day, we are, just like everybody else, and we deserve a place in society. And I do think that while it may be a temporary place for some people, it really is an identity, and we need something to hold on to. So like I said before, there are a lot of things that are in the works right now that we're releasing as we speak, to bring that representation, that dignity, and that grace to the world. And my goal, like I said before, is to really stress to you guys that you have to own it. You have to be very direct. Now, you don't have to go around telling everybody, hey, I'm bisexual. I do. I love doing it, honestly. It's kind of funny. Somebody say, you just have a shirt that says, I'm bisexual, just to see people's reactions. But I do think that we are coming a point in time where it's becoming more and more talked about. And there have been programs and shows where they'll talk about a bisexual person, and, it's always revolving around sex. My goal is to not go there. With me, you'll never see me talking in a disgraceful way about, bisexuality, or just really going too vulgar, because the point of my, advocacy is so that someone who is 16 years old could kind of listen to it and not be ashamed, or their parents like, what are you listening to? This is all about building a community. And I know, when you find your life purpose, you find this peace, that you just would never think that you'd have. I never thought that I'd have it. I know my mission and my purpose in life is to share with you guys everything I've learned, across the country, here in the U.S., about bisexuality, and the people and the interviews that I've done, and just even things that I've seen, so that people can know they're not alone. You don't have to be someone who walks around saying, hey, I'm bisexual. But at the end of the day, if I can just help one person out there, young or old, understand how to be, who they really are meant to be, how the universe embedded and encoded them, then I've done my job. I even had to do that last night amongst all this other stuff, right? One guy walks up to me and just hugs me as tight as he could, continues to talk. And I ain't gonna lie, he made the team, right? But... And, another guy I saw, and and this is a very sore thing, and maybe we'll dig a little deeper in another episode about it, but what I realize is that sometimes when people don't get the attention they want from the sex that they're after, say for instance like a guy who's obviously into women or a woman who's into men, the first person that comes along, or who gives them a legitimate interest, even if it's from the same sex, so a guy who gets attention from another man, he may find that he's entertaining it a little bit more than what he probably initially thought he would. Excuse me. Or like a woman who gets attention from another woman because maybe she's not getting enough attention from men, or men aren't, approaching her in the way that she wished to be desired. That's a very delicate place. And last night I came across that, and the best, and I told everyone, because they saw me over in the corner talking to this guy. There was a guy, who had showed up, and he's just embedded with a very different DNA. I like to say in the universe. The universe gave him a very different DNA. Excuse me, where he literally really wants to be, with a girl and really pursue a girl, but girls were just creeped out by this dude. I mean, they were just really creeped out by him. And not only were they like creeped out by him, like it was obvious. And people were like, I think he's a serial killer. I don't think he was. I think he's just one of those people who just wants to fit in so bad that he just fails miserably. But my goal was I did let him know that you're different. The universe gave you a very special DNA. I see you. I recognize you. And, and I want you to just be you and not try to be like everybody else. And when you find that place in your purpose and who you are, the universe will work it out for you. It will bring you the woman that you want. But in that period where I was really trying to show him some kindness, I noticed he probably shook my hand at least 20 times. He started to grab my forearm a little bit. And he started to really, go, and he even asked me, he said, "Are you psychic?" He was like, and I said, well, I'm just a very spiritual guy. And during that, I was showing him just kindness, I could see how he had not been shown that. And I don't say ever, but probably a very, very long time. And it was a space where, he was just like, wow, this stranger is really being kind to me. And I'm actually, really it was sincere. And like I said, I was not interested in him at all. All my goal was to do is to just share, kindness, to this individual who was being isolated by everybody, because I always will fight for the underdog. But even in doing that, I saw that he entertained this, he started touching me in a way that honestly, you wouldn't touch another man. And I kept it very platonic and very hey Meg, God bless you, just be you, man, cheers, right? But I've seen it before with people like him. I show kindness to people because my mom raised me to, just try to make the world a better place. Right? And that's what I do. That's what I love to do. That's one of my chief purpose in this, is to make the world a better place, one person, one day at a time, through my life walking this earth. And I did that, but I think that sometimes when people are shown kindness and they don't really know what to do with it, sometimes it's kind of tender and they're like, oh, wow. And they can maybe sometimes develop feelings. And I could see how this dude was looking at me and he was kind of like, oh, you're really nice. And it was not just you're really cool, I want to drink beers with you, but it was wow. And I think he hugged me 2 or 3 times after that, which is totally fine. But with the whole purpose of me sharing that is to let you know that sometimes when you show kindness to people, they might start to open up a little bit more than what you're expecting. And they might be on the cusp of thinking am I really just attracted to this person? Or am I really, just kind of feeling their vibe? And I can't speak on that, but I do know that if someone, maybe you meet someone they never thought that they would like, they're the same sex, and there's a way to handle it and make sure that it stays platonic and make sure that, it's just genuine affection. There's nothing sinister. There's nothing, there to try to, prey on anybody. It's just hey, this is just genuine mankind being nice to each other. So that's what I have for you guys this episode of Biology 101. Next time I'll dig a little deeper, and I do have someone that I want to interview to talk about their experience with bisexuality. Please, if you have any questions, go to askabyguy.com or askatomboy.com. Submit your question and we'll talk about it. I'll see you guys next time on Biology 101.